So this is being recorded.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to do the same.
Okay.
Um,
How can I
yes.
help you?
So I've had a difficult couple of semesters, um, like in particular with DPI and STR, and I was hoping to talk about those classes. It's honestly not something I enjoy doing, feeling very awkward and nervous right now, but I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Like before I made a PPT of like snapshots of things like feedback and stuff I've gotten from the class on Blackboard for STR. I couldn't do it for DPI because I don't have access anymore. And last semester I was more shocked and frustrated than normal, so I didn't put in the effort to do that. But before that, I was gonna ask like a bunch of questions if that's okay.
Okay, yes.
So like in a class, should students pay attention to what's going on in the classroom in regards to both the teacher and fellow students, especially when they're presenting?
Well, of course, that's an expectation of any classroom, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm asking because I thought so, but I'll talk about that later. And like it's the responsibility of the teacher to manage that, right? If the students aren't doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, like so I had a little bit of an, I don't know if it got back to you, but I had an outburst yesterday because of something that I'll show you later. Um, like I'm just gonna ask it because but even though I know the answer, like, but actually I don't know the answer. Like, why is attendance mandatory?
Well, attendance is mandatory because you have to be there to learn the content, and there's a seat expectation, a seat hours expectation by TEA. We have to have you in the classroom being instructed a certain number of hours in order to meet TEA minimum requirements.
Okay. Do standards make education equitable?
Not always.
Okay, because my DPI teacher said that. I questioned it, and the response was, I know you're thinking about this a lot. I'm gonna ask you to hold it in your head. And it was basically to me translated as, I need you to stop talking right now. And it never got addressed again.
Okay,
Like,
well, to go to the instructor afterwards and talk with the instructor. We're always open. We have office hours. We have the opportunity to meet on Zoom.
I think like if the instructor's telling you to stop talking, going to talk to the instructor at that point seems pointless.
Well, there's certain amount of content we need to get through in class, and if we get sidetracked by side conversations that don't apply to what we need to complete, I mean, we have 3 hours, 3.5 hours at most to do the instructing, and there's a certain amount of content we need to get through. So sometimes if there's a conversation that's taking us off the track, then we could take that during office hours or at another time so that it could be addressed but not take away from the content of the class.
In STR, we were off track all the time. And like it was really, I mean, I don't have proof of it. It's a he said, she said, but I mean, if that were true, we would be more on track for STR, that class. But moving on, like multiple intelligences, why is it connected to learning theories or learning styles?
It's a learning theory that is actually, there are a lot of questions in a lot of the testing that we are required to complete that addresses multiple intelligences. And so it's something we need to cover. But we also in DPI and in other classes talk about that there has been other research that's proven that there's like a learning style, there's more learning preferences. And we talk about that in DPI. We actually have a video where they discuss the new research and how it's informing that theory. And so, but we still need to cover that because there are questions on the tests still that talk about multiple intelligences. I don't know if you've taken your tests and seen those questions, but if we did not teach that theory, then we would not be preparing our students to address those questions in the test.
No, I'm in favor of multiple intelligences. I would be a proponent of it. It's just incorrect to say that it's a learning style. It's related to learning styles. Like I've read the book,
Mhm.
like, and I have snippets of it to show that it's not about learning styles. It's about brain structure and how the brain structure of different individuals lends the individuals to dispositions in different intelligences. But it's not about like how you can teach math using like bodily kinesthetic and musical intelligences and everything else. Even though a lot of people say that, it's like completely incorrect, and I'm going to show that later, or what I believe is proof of it later.
Okay, yeah, because there's a lot more research on that. If you've read all the research, you would see all the different perspectives on it. And there's multiple perspectives on learning styles and learning preferences.
No, my comments aren't about learning styles and learning preferences, except that multiple intelligences is not about learning styles. Like coming from like reading from Howard Gardner's book about I think it's Frames of Mind.
Mhm.
But then like I
And
can
that approach to the theory, but there's multiple research out there about that theory. There's
but
additional research that's gone since Howard Gardner did his research.
but the multiple intelligences theory is Howard Gardner's theory. It's
Mhm.
not like several PhDs or professors like got together, researchers got together and talked about it. Like this is Howard Gardner's theory. So I think like what Howard Gardner says has to be like what the theory is actually about, right?
Mhm. Yes,
It's his theory.
but there's been additional research on that theory that you need to look at as well. Sort of really
Mm. I would disagree. Because like in the book, like Howard Gardner talks about schools that try things like learning styles where like they teach all the intelligences in different ways and things like that. And he basically says that this allows for people to take pot shots at the multiple intelligences theory. He's basically said that like people that try to do it like learning styles are making this theory less credible. Like I can send that to you. But then like should negative comments about students from teachers like be discouraged by like the certification teacher?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Like if teachers are talking about their students in negative ways, like, like if student teachers, like pre-service teachers are in a class are talking about their students in negative ways, should the classroom teacher for that certification class be directing comments away from something negative and trying to be more constructive?
Yes, and that's not professional to talk about your students, so it's an professional behavior.
It's happened in my classes. And then I guess if a class textbook has errors, is it the responsibility of the teacher to make students aware of the errors?
If they're aware of them, yes.
But I mean, if it's assigned to the class, the teacher should know, right?
Do you know everything about every textbook you've ever used in your teaching?
I mean, if it's wrong, I correct it. I tell the two students that it's wrong. I don't teach from it. I don't do anything like that. Mhm. Like, okay, so I've been frustrated with my classes. Like, I got my master's from the College of New Jersey. It's fourth out of like 178 schools in its region. So I think like my background is like fairly solid. Like that's part of my transcript. Like I took two reading courses, I got A's in them, like cultural foundation, like a lot of classes, curriculum theory about like cultural foundations and things like that. And by February 20th, I had told my STR teacher that I've made my teacher aware of it. Like I think my teacher should have known on her own, like just being aware of like your students and their background, because like part of any class is like pre-assessing and seeing like where students are. But I literally told my teacher that like I've taught emergent literacy for over 6 years. I took two courses for master's degree coursework. So like I knew the other material in the PPT. I was like, what did you learn? And I was like, not a lot. It didn't even get graded because I was absent for that class. I had to leave. I couldn't be there because I had a personal emergency that took me out of the country. It was very time sensitive, so I had to go. But I never even got a reply from this back in February. So like my teacher has tried to make the case that like she's tried to reach out and try to make the class more engaging for me. But like I got pretty frustrated very early on because this is class 5.
Mhm.
I've sent this, never even got a reply. Not you weren't in a class that day, so I can't grade this or anything. Just blank. Um, and then like finally in class 12, she says like as we discussed last class, if you find this information basic or not new to you, I'm happy to suggest some peer-reviewed articles. But
Mhm.
like, this is many classes later. I've already tired. I'm bored. I'm frustrated because I'm not being engaged. And it's like if I were in fifth grade, I got straight A's and I got held back. And then I had to do all the grade 5 work again before I could get like anything new. It's like I had to repeat all of the work. Like
Mhm.
I'm doing everything that everybody else is doing. The readings are like sometimes incredibly boring because like I know it and it's so frustrating to have to read it like again. But that was part of it. And then I'm gonna ask if you think there's anything wrong with what I've written here.
Those are some very basic strategies, yes, but
So like
what was,
anything with the tone, the spelling, I mean, I missed an O and of, but like tone, spelling, everything like that, it's okay.
yeah?
Like, so I've submitted that, and then it says, in addition, I encourage you to take some time and check your grammar before submitting. Let me know if you have any questions. Like, there's nothing wrong with the grammar. I don't, like, I lost 3 points for this.
I think you lost points for just the amount of detail because it was very surface level and very basic.
It's a
I don't think
200 word quick,
points for grammar.
it's a 200 word quick write, but then she comments on the grammar.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's nothing wrong with the grammar. You just said that.
Maybe you should ask her then. Follow up with her and ask her. I didn't grade this, I just did a real surface level skim on this. I wasn't looking for grammar. But, if you have
I
a question.
asked, is there anything wrong with the tone, the grammar? Like, I mentioned it in specific
Mhm.
because this is what I was gearing towards.
I don't think that's the reason you lost points. You would need to ask the teacher, but for me, the comments above that are the reasons that it was very surface level, you know, expand on your thoughts on the chapter. That's what she asked you to do.
But one, she mentions grammar in the comments. Like, why would she mention grammar here if there's nothing wrong with the grammar here? If there's something wrong with the grammar somewhere else, it needs to be like addressed in that like activity or that assignment.
Okay.
Like, am I wrong there?
You can ask her about it,
No, no,
but
no. I'm asking, like, as a teacher, am I wrong in thinking that if there were an error or mistake problems with grammar in an assignment, it should be addressed in that assignment, not in a different assignment?
if that's what she was referring to, I don't
No, no,
know what.
no. Like, so you're saying that I can 2 months down the line tell a student, oh, your spelling is incorrect in that previous assignment. I'm knocking off points. Oh, your grammar is incorrect. You need to be working on that and like wait 2 months to tell someone. Hello? Hello?
Are you there? I lost connection with you for a moment.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes.
No, but like I don't see why it's here. Like as a teacher, if I saw problems with like spelling or grammar or anything, I would address it right away. I wouldn't wait until like, 5, 6 assignments later, weeks later, and then address it in an unrelated assignment that has no correlation to it.
Well, you'd need to ask the teacher about that. I can't read her mind. I don't know what she was referring to. But the points that were lost from this assignment was because she wanted to expand on your thoughts.
It's a
Instructor
200,
and ask.
it's a
Okay.
200 word quick write.
Uh-huh.
It's only 200 words, so I've met the requirements. Like she told me that if I thought the text was boring, that I should talk about my experiences, which I have. She
Okay.
didn't tell me to go into detail about it. If she went into detail, I would only talk about one small thing because going into detail would be a lot of words. It's a 200 word quick write. I'm not going to write 500 words for it. And then
Okay.
if I write it too narrow a scope, which I she has said that I've done before, I'll lose points for it. So I have to be general. I have to cover the entire chapter.
You need to talk to the instructor about the grading, but as I see, she gave you feedback. She wanted you to talk about remediation, identifying how students struggle. You don't need to go into great detail, but you could give some more deep ideas. This was a surplus level response. And that's what she's saying in the feedback. And she gave you 12 out of 15.
I mean, I'm just going to get in trouble with you for this because obviously you're always siding with the teacher, but telling me that I'm criticizing the text, the authors, the other teachers, consider what you can do to the best teacher you can be. I am consistently the best teacher in my grade and my school. It's irritating that a book is the author's charging $85 for a book that has mistakes. It's the third edition. I thought I should remain respectful. It's $85, third edition by now. I don't see why there should be mistakes like this, where they say they display a word recognition wall for an interactive whiteboard. Like, it's not my job to fix the text and tell people how to use an interactive whiteboard or how to adapt it. But that's what I'm being told to do. This is all the entire activity is. And you're going to side with the teacher in the book, and that's fine. I'm just saying my piece. A projector, not an interactive whiteboard, costs $50. Interactive whiteboards cost well over $1,000 for many of them.
In many days.
A document camera costs 100, 150. Like, the fact that they are saying to use something that costs over $1,000 is irresponsible. Administrators would get onto teachers if that's all they did. If all they did was show this and then write on it. But I'm just saying my piece because you're going to side with the teacher. So that's fine. But I'm also going to show you that Bill Honig is not a very moral person. He was a state school chief. And while he was state school chief, he was convicted of 4 felony conflict of interest counts. Conflict of felony accounts are very serious. They can result in longer than a year in jail. It was stemmed from payments made by the Department of Education, so it was money meant to go to children, but Bill Honig stole it instead. And he was ordered originally to complete 1,000 hours of community service, pay back what he was caught stealing, not all that he was stealing, just caught 274,754. That's almost 300,000. Pay a fine, and then he had a jail sentence that was something or other. But even though they said that because he completed community service hours that he was actually mandated by court to do, if you don't do that, you actually end up possibly going to jail or something else. They reduced his sentence, and he didn't pay back all of what he stole. So I'm not going to respect this guy, but apparently I have to. I'm just saying it because, again, you're going to side with the teacher. That's how much he didn't pay back that he was caught stealing. This here, in the same chapter of the book, it gives 2 different amounts of time for how much phonological awareness is being taught. I lost 2 points for it because that's the bulk of what I wrote about. But in my comments too, it says the most important thing is to be consistent. And it's funny that she says consistent because within the book, they're not even consistent. Within the same chapter of their own book, third edition, $85, they still can't be consistent, but I lose 2 points for pointing it out. Scientific method, because it's supposed to be the science of teaching reading. If you have data and when you analyze it is incorrect, it's not consistent, what you do is you go back to your hypothesis and you redo it. But there's that. This is the last class where you can see one of the students is typing on her laptop. It's very blurry because I was taking it very quickly. But one of the other students is presenting. The student has done it all year, last semester as well. Teacher's not even paying attention, and I think it's disrespectful and it's rude, but whatever. Not complete sentences, I lost 2 points there. I sent an email because I had submitted my quick writes early because all of them were available at the beginning of the year. So I submitted 4 quick writes before they were due, and then the teacher took them down, and I ended up with all zeros for them. I asked about this and I never got a reply. And then here, it's basically the same thing. I asked if I would get get zeros or something about submitting again. I'm very frustrated, so I can't focus right now. But again, like no reply. Like I just like I'm not gonna talk to a teacher that ignores me. That's a waste of my time. It's stupid. Same thing. I had replied late, March 8th about a deadline of March 1st for asking about a clinical and never got a reply. That's Frames of Mind by Howard Gardner. It's a lot of brain research about brain damaged patients, idiot savant. So this isn't like about people, like you're not teaching an idiot savant that's like amazing at like playing the piano, how to play football or how to do math. It's something completely different. But that's all that is. This is what he was envisioning for things like multiple intelligences. It would basically be like you get people into a program early on that they're very strong in so that they can get stronger on it at an earlier time. This is from our DPI book. It's talking about the Pythagorean theorem, but the problem is really ridiculous. It's not even a Pythagorean theorem problem, even though the authors are saying that it is. They're saying that the students don't understand it, that teachers aren't teaching it. But basically what the problem is if you were in a building like the the Highland Learning Center, and you had to go from the classroom to the door, you're supposed to go like this and like that. They're saying you have to use the Pythagorean theorem, you have to go like this. Obviously, you can't do it because you can't go through walls, but the teachers are blaming the students and other people with the standards. We already talked about that. That's all I had to say.
Well, I'm sorry that you're unhappy and frustrated. I can see that you have a lot of anger. And I'm a little concerned about that. I'm concerned about your feelings and your anger. And I know that the teachers have given you feedback. That as you were flipping through there, I saw that some of the comments were that they wanted you to address more the prompt, that wasn't what you said, that you but that you were not addressing the prompt or the expectation. So I'm not sure where you want to go from here.
No,
What do you want?
yeah, I don't know anymore either. Like, I've considered dropping the program a lot. Like,
Mhm.
I thought this would help, but it obviously doesn't because you're just siding with the teachers. I have 4 more classes. I've already paid for 4. I've got 4 more to go. Like, I do not see these other 4 going well for me. And like, I'll just lose points, but then I have to talk to the teacher that is not replying to my emails. And honestly, is not for me, I'm not being heard. But again, I talked to you and I'm not being heard. That's why I asked to be recorded. Like, I just,
What makes you think I'm not hearing you?
like, you're siding with the teacher. You have to go talk with the teacher. What you're saying is wrong. Like, I don't see it.
I
But
didn't say that you're wrong. I said that you need to get clarification from the teacher. I cannot get inside of her mind to see why she graded you as she did. And really, to get this straightened out, you need to go talk to the person that gave you the feedback.
that I emailed and got ignored up for twice. Like, I don't see it being beneficial to me.
Well, she has office hours. She's there before and after class. She's open to have, and I expect out of all of our professors that they are there to come and talk with students. And I know that Mrs. McEachron is there an hour before class, and you could go and talk with her. I think it's best to talk face to face on these things so you can get an explanation. It's hard to explain back and forth in emails about the feedback. But in our program, we give you feedback, give you specifics, and you do lose points when things are not addressed that are expected to be addressed in the prompt. We have rubrics for grading. So really, when you don't get the full points and you get feedback saying, I need more detail on this, that, and the other for the full points, that's why you lose the points. And in some assignments, we give you the opportunity to resubmit. I saw that she gave you an opportunity to resubmit and address the ideas that should have been addressed.
No, it wasn't.
Not
No, sorry, no. It was not resubmitting to address the things that were not addressed. It was resubmitting because she had put the quick writes up early, and then she took them all down. So all the ones that I already submitted for, I got zeros for. To be able to actually get grades for those, she had to let me resubmit again. Like what I had already submitted was just gone, and I got a 0 for it. It wasn't so that I could submit again based on feedback.
Okay. A lot of our assignments, we do allow you to resubmit based on feedback. I know on the lesson plans, we give you an opportunity to resubmit based on feedback.
That was never told to me. And it was not the impression that I got in either of my DPI or STR classes. I was just told to redo the work in DPI.
Okay. And resubmit it, yes, for a higher points.
Never for higher points, just to redo it.
No, it would
My
be,
understanding of, no. From my understanding, based on what the teacher said, I would not be getting more points. I was just told to do it again.
That's what our expectation is, that when you resubmit, you can increase your score.
It was never made clear to me. Like it was just, I assumed that my grade was my grade. Teacher never said that I would get more points for it. It was just do it again.
All right, well, that was a miscommunication then, because we do allow you to get more points when we give you corrections on lesson plans. We want you to make them better. We want you to improve. And that's why we give feedback. The feedback for the quick writes, it's to help you to improve and to be able to address the prompts more fully, to go into deeper thinking. So, that's part of our program, is to give you an opportunity to improve your performance.
I honestly do not think I have grown at all as a teacher, really.
Well, maybe this is not the program for you, as you said. Did you have a teaching license in another state?
No, I have a master's degree only, not a teaching license.
You don't have a teaching
UT, that's why I chose Austin to come back to for certification.
Okay. Well, there are other programs in Texas that are competency-based, where you can just pass tests, like Western Governors University is one that's competency-based, that you can go in and demonstrate your knowledge and be able to pass off the course. And maybe that's a better program for you.
Western University, what?
Western Governors University?
Western Governors University. See, I wish someone had told me this at the very beginning, because I've wasted a semester and 4 classes worth of money at Western.
It's a competency-based program. It's online. And you can go and take the courses, and then you can demonstrate your knowledge and your understanding. Maybe that's more appropriate for you given your level of education.
So it would still be taking courses.
Yes, but it's competency-based and you can pass the courses off. They take a pre-assessment before you start the course. And you demonstrate your knowledge, and they tell you what areas you need more knowledge in, or if you pass the pre-assessment, then you move on to the next course. And maybe that's more appropriate for you.
Very likely. Thank you.
But I don't know that you're going to be successful in our program. Do you believe you could be successful in our program, or do you think this is not the program for you?
I think I will struggle. I'll be very angry and I will fail.
And we don't want that. We don't want you angry. I know there was a lot of concern about your outburst in class on Tuesday. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
All semester, that student has not paid attention. She always has comments. They're not always related to what we're doing. On the last day of class, students have worked on their presentations for I don't know how long. It doesn't even matter. It's about basic respect that she's telling me I have to show and I have to demonstrate. You saw the picture. It's not clear because I took it quickly.
Yeah, it's hard to see anything in that picture.
Yeah, well, so again, like I have no proof, but the teacher's not paying attention to students, not making sure they're respectful to their classmates.
Okay, and I saw the teacher was watching the person presenting, which you would do as a teacher.
Better maybe from the back of the room so she could see what everybody else was doing. Like pretty much almost every time that someone was presenting, she was on her laptop. She took breaks. She didn't come back. She was just out hanging out, relaxing. When she came back, she was chatting it up. But then as soon as someone was presenting, she was back on the laptop. The teacher didn't even pay attention to it until the very end of class.
Okay, but why is that your concern, William?
Because it's disrespectful to the classmates. As a teacher, I don't want a future colleague not paying attention to people. I don't want a future colleague not paying attention to the class and learning the material.
Okay, but as another student, that's really not your concern.
I would expect my teacher to pay attention to it, though.
So and that's responsibility.
I've taught for 14 years. At one of my last schools, a parent told me all the parents agree that you're the most responsible. And I thought it was a very weird comment to make. The next year, she told me if teachers think playing and having fun is more important, we just hire tutors, which means that they know that their children aren't learning in school because their teachers aren't putting in the effort to teach, they're valuing other things. And for me, it's the students that suffer. The students don't get that education because not everybody can afford this, like the tutoring. So I find it very hard to believe that a teacher candidate that is not paying attention before class, before they're even teaching and they're just like learning how to be a teacher, like if they're not listening then, I don't see them putting in the work to be solid teachers in the classroom. And as a student, it shouldn't be my responsibility. But as a teacher, it is incredibly frustrating to think about them being future colleagues. And I do believe that the teacher should have been taking care of it. It is not my job, it's not my responsibility, but it's also something I shouldn't see, in my opinion, from a teacher of teachers. That should be not just teaching the material, the curriculum that is in front of them, but modeling how to be a teacher, managing the class like a master or an expert teacher. And I do not believe that was happening if students can just surf the web. And I'm the one that gets in trouble, obviously, because again, you all were concerned, which means that everybody knows. Like, I'm the person that is the problem. It's fine.
You're not the problem, but your reaction caused a lot of concern, as you know. I had a report from the campus police that they were concerned about the safety of the students in that class and the teacher. And that's a big concern to me. It impacted the learning environment.
I think what impacted the learning environment more was actually not the environment, just the students. Students not paying attention or not learning, but that's fine. I'll look into the Western Governors University. Thank you for that.
Okay. All right. I just, in our program, we give a lot of feedback, we give a lot of coaching, and I know you've got a lot of education, you have a lot of experience, but even with a PhD, I know I can always learn more. And if I dive into the material deeply, I can differentiate for myself because I understand how to do that. And I believe you do too, that you can go deeper and you can learn from every assignment, every class, every opportunity. But to me, it seems that you haven't done that in this class, and that's why you've been so frustrated.
No,
that you've just
the class is a very basic level class. I'm assigned readings that I must complete, and then I must write on those readings. I don't see how I'm supposed to delve deeper if I'm required to write on a very specific chapter of the book that I know stuff that I already know about. Like, how do I delve deeper into a chapter that I already understand when I can only write about the text, not about things
right.
outside of the text in particular?
You're supposed to write about your own personal opinions, your experiences, how you've applied that in the classroom. There's plenty of opportunity to make all those connections and go deeper. We don't ever expect to have a summary of what was in the chapter or a critique of what was in the chapter. What we want you to do is take the material from the chapter, internalize it, think about how you apply that in the classroom, think about explicit strategies, opportunities, more knowledge that you could apply to that, your skills. We don't ever just want a regurgitation of what's in the text. And that's lined out at the beginning of each class. That's standard across the program. And so the reason you lost points is because you weren't doing that. You were doing very surface level. But I know with your knowledge and your experience and your education, you could go deeper with all of these things and you could make it a good learning experience for yourself. You know how to differentiate for students, differentiate for yourself. But in our program, we're going to give you feedback. You're going to lose points. You haven't been able to do everything perfectly. I can't do everything perfectly. I always need feedback. I always take that feedback and improve my performance. And that's all we ask of our students in our program. And as you get into field experiences, when you're in the classroom and you're having a field supervisor come and evaluate you, did you get evaluated in your teaching experience in the class? How did you take that feedback?
I was not happy with it.
Yeah, and that's the growth mindset that we expect of all of our students. We're not happy with that feedback, but we use it for personal growth. I mean, in my own experience, I did a dissertation and I was critiqued to the point of tears many, many times, but I learned getting over my own self pride and I learned how to take that feedback and improve my performance and become better. And that's all education is about, is taking feedback, using it to improve your performance and strengthening your skills, your knowledge, and your ability to become a great teacher. None of us are perfect teachers. All of us are going to make mistakes. All of us are going to need critical feedback. But it's being able to accept that feedback to help us to become stronger. And that's a core principle in this program, is taking that feedback and accepting it. And if you need clarification on the feedback, absolutely get clarification on the feedback. But to fight against it and be critical of others instead does not help you to become a better teacher.
Thank you for your time.
So where do we want to go from here? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I will think. But I'll look into Southern Governors University and figure out what to do.
Because I have a very huge concern about what that report from the campus police of our students not feeling safe. Did you notice the reaction from your classmates after your outburst?
No.
There were people in tears. There were people who were afraid. They were visibly shaken. The campus police were concerned for their safety. They locked the classroom door after you left because there was concern for safety.
Would it be better if I didn't go back at all?
I do believe it would be. I'm very concerned because these people, they didn't want to go to class the next night because they didn't feel safe. And that's why class was on Zoom last night, because people did not feel safe. And that's a big concern to me as the director of the program. And I'm sure that wasn't your intention, but that was the response of the students and the teachers. We're concerned about just your emotional health. I know Cynthia L. Williams has talked with you a little bit. We'd really like you to get some help. I know you have a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, and it's not good for you. This is not a way to live. For you to hold resentment from a teacher that taught you 6 months ago and still, you know, giving feedback, negative feedback about her being a terrible teacher, and it's very hurtful to her. She felt like she did the best she could with you, but you still have such anger because of just minor corrections and feedback that she tried to help you to become a better teacher. But you still have anger towards that teacher 6 months ago. What's going on there?
I honestly just didn't think it was a good class.
Mm.
My classmates, 2 of them even said they didn't even read the book, but everything was fine. Teacher never noticed.
But you have so much anger, Will. What's going on with this anger?
Like, I think teaching is a very important profession. I think children should have a good education.
Yes.
But, I mean, they're failing all over the country. You can only blame COVID so much.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see teachers not putting in like the most basic effort to learn like the most basic things, it just, it hints at other reasons children are failing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the chosen profession of people. Like, if they're gonna choose to be teachers, like they know what they're getting into. Class sizes being big, like salaries being low. That's like all part of education. It's just the way it is. It's not good, but like they know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
For them to not do the work, to understand like really not doing the readings, surfing the web during class, teacher never noticing, it's frustrating for me because it means teachers allowing for it to happen.
Mm-hmm. But for you becoming distracted by the other teachers in the class, what are you gaining from the class? You're focusing so much on everyone else and what everyone else is doing. Are you able to focus on the learning that's taking place or the presentation and drawing from that person's experience? You know, we all have different capacities for learning, and some of us get distracted by different things. You know, some people function better if they can have a fidget. You know, you've seen students that are taught students that have a fidget. that's how they are able to focus. And yeah, I agree, there's probably students who are not focusing, but some of them just don't have the capacity to engage for 3 hours. And, you know, they get distracted. You get distracted by other people in the classroom. How much are you drawing from the instruction that's happening when you're so focused on everyone else?
For me, DPI and STR, like, there's not a lot of learning going on in the classroom.
There could be. Like I said, you need to differentiate for yourself and go deeper. You have such a good brain and such a good intellect and such great background knowledge. Build on that background knowledge rather than being distracted by all these other meaningless things that really don't apply to you. They're really meaningless. Take your own learning deeper. You know, you had great learning opportunities if you would have differentiated for yourself in both of these classes. I would love to have the basics and then dive deeper into some of the ideas or the strategies or find new strategies that apply to this. You had the opportunity to build yourself as a teacher, but you were distracted by all these other meaningless things that don't apply to you. You know how to differentiate for gifted students, right? You've learned that. In this case, you're a gifted student. You could differentiate for yourself and deepen your own experience and increase your own learning. I know with a PhD, I could go into that class and learn new things if I differentiated for myself.
I just thought that was something the teacher should have done for me.
And
I mean,
she tried to give you articles. She tried to extend your learning. You know, she was concerned about differentiating for you. And I said, talk to him about, you know, when you give this instruction, how he could use his own experience and his own knowledge to take it deeper. And I think that's what she was trying to get you to do in those, the feedback for your quick writes, to take it deeper.
But I mean, that didn't even happen until the end of the second semester.
Okay, yeah, and that's when I talked to the teacher about helping you to get more out of the class. She wanted you to get more out of the class, so she came to me for advice, and that's what I told her. But I am concerned if you can't accept constructive feedback, if you can't use feedback to improve your performance, if you can't differentiate yourself, you can't be successful in this program. It'll continue to be a battle. You'll continue to be angry, frustrated.
No, I can take feedback, constructive and everything. Like, I've had principals give me feedback and I'm taking it fine, but like for one of my lessons, what was it? One was I was doing a lesson on fractions, and it was only a 1 week, 5 lesson thing. And the TEKs say that you're supposed to do improper and proper fractions, but you can't teach them in the same week. Like, you have at least 1 week apart where you do like mixed numbers or something else, and I lost points for that. And then I lost points for not doing enough informal assessments. But like, I don't have to stop the class to do informal assessments. Like, we're doing like problems as a group, and like I can walk around the class, see how kids are doing, if they're struggling, like what they're talking about with other kids, who's the talking, who's helping, who's struggling, and I can figure out where the majority of the class is, who, if I need to slow down for the entire class, if I need to pull someone aside later, like.
Yes.
And like, I lost points for not doing enough, like not stopping the class to do informal assessments. It was just,
Expectations
like that were frustrating.
the process of the class that you do informal assessments. It's not stopping the class, but
No,
it
but
needs to be split lesson plan, how you are addressing informal assessment. What are you doing exactly to address informal assessment? And without seeing the feedback the teacher gave you, it's hard for me to say, but yeah, informal assessment is not stopping the class. But when you get feedback, if you don't understand it, you need to go talk to the teacher to get an understanding of what it is, because she wants you to improve your performance as well. I mean, that's the goal of teaching, is to give feedback to help students improve their performance, have them incorporate that feedback and become better teachers. But you have so much resentment when anyone gives you feedback.
No, it was that it wasn't to me beneficial and constructive. Like, real, like if it was like I didn't write it in there, like it should, no, because it was during the teaching that it happened.
Okay.
Like,
All right, so ask for clarification and ask it with an open mind and acceptance rather than going in to argue about it. That's my concern with you in this program, is being able to accept feedback and not fight against it, but use it to become a better teacher, because that is what's going to be throughout the rest of the coursework, and it's going to intensify in the clinical experience, whether it's an internship or a clinical teaching situation. The feedback is going to be more and more intense, more and more frequent, and if you're not able to accept that feedback and be coachable, you're not going to be able to be successful in this program. And to respond, with yelling or outbursts is not professional, and it can't happen in this program. Outbursts in class are just an unprofessional behavior. If you did that in a school, you'd probably be immediately fired. And it's a big concern to us of your overall success as a teacher. Can you accept feedback, or can you deal with other coworkers who aren't performing perfectly without outbursts and making people feel unsafe?
Oh, like, I did not know I scared people. For that one, I profusely apologize. But I'm not looking for perfection. Like,
We're all imperfect. We're all going to have flaws. We're all going to make mistakes and missteps. But others' mistakes and the missteps are not your concern. You need to focus on yourself, because you're detracting from your own learning by focusing so heavily on others. Well, where do you see your path going now from here?
I have no idea. I mean, like, I was gonna consider ACC more, but if I'm scaring everybody, that's just,
Yeah, that's a big concern for me. How do I have you back in classes with people who are afraid of you because of what happened on Tuesday?
so better if I leave ACC for everybody.
I think you need to find a program that's going to suit you better. And then I think you also need to get some help with some of your emotional issues. The anger, you need to get some help with this anger. It's so debilitating for you, and it's impacting your ability to succeed. It could impact your ability to be successful on a job. And I'd hate to have something like that happen with children in a classroom. Where you get frustrated and you have an outburst. I think you need to get some help to get this fixed and be able to deal with the anger. And maybe there's some medication. I don't know. I'm not a mental health expert, but I do know that you could use some help with your anger and your ability to focus on your own growth rather than focus on others and feeling so much frustration. I think that's the only way you're going to be successful. And I know that with some help, you can be successful. You can function well. You can focus on the positive things in life rather than focusing so heavily on the negative. You're making yourself frustrated and making yourself angry to the point where sometimes you will have outbursts, and that is, not beneficial for the learning environment. I'm really concerned about a student or your students in your classroom if that happens in a classroom. Don't want your students not to feel safe. They need to be able to trust you and feel safe under your care. But I'm concerned about that at this point, based on what's happened in our program. Being able to be a team player in a school, be able to work with colleagues and not be critical of them, but grow from them and learn from them. Well, that's an important part of being a teacher too, working on a team. Being able to accept feedback from your administrators and not be frustrated and angry, but use it for growth.
Oh, really? Normally, I
Really encourage. I'm sorry.
well, normally with
Say.
principals, I'm fine. Like, I accept feedback, I grow.
Okay. But right now, I think you're just not in a good place emotionally. ACC has some services. They can offer you some counseling.
Yeah, if I'm not a student anymore, then not really. But I got it. Thank you.
There's other sources.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm gonna stop recording and end the meeting. or leave the meeting.
Well, what else can I do to help you? I really want to help you and support you any way I can.
And I think there's nothing else.
So, what pathway do you see?
I'm gonna look into the Southwestern governors.
Yeah, Western Governors University,
Western
their website is